The first step to making your thermal zone for your model is to scale it correctly to your building. And there's a few different ways of doing this. I'll show you a couple. The first thing to do is to either have, I think all of you have plans of some sort that are dimensioned, and make those plans, which I think are all in PDF format, into PNG files. So I'm going to open here a plan of Worcester Hall so you can see what I'm talking about. Computer Lab is right here. I'm going to export it to an image, a PNG, and I'm going to save that. Take this PNG file that I just made and drop it onto the canvas, just like that. And as I do that, comes in unscaled. That's just some random scale that I've got there. Now, if I zoom in here, you can see, oh, actually you can't see, I've got a dimension here and a dimension here. And if I go to this one maybe, that dimension is 28 feet between A and B and 28 feet between 17 and 18. And so I want this to be 28 feet. Now, if you've got metric, that's fine. I'll show you how to change the units. You go to Window, Model Info, and you'll get this dialog box. Go to Units, and here you can change to from inches to meters or metric by going to decimal and then changing to metric, either meters or millimeters. I prefer millimeters, but I'll leave it up to you. And then you can just click X, and now it will be in the model will be in meters. I'm going to change that back to inches and show you how to scale this. So I'm going to click on a line, and I'm going to try and align this line as best I can to my A-axis. And a shortcut, by the way, for stopping a command is to press spacebar. And now I'm going to take that and move it, and the shortcut for move is M. That's what I'm going to do here. And to move something, I can click on it, and if I press Control while I move it, I can copy it. So if I press Control again, it just moves it. If I press Control again, as a toggle, it copies it. And now I want to copy it 28 feet away. You can see on the lower right, I'm now about 4 foot 3/4. So I'm going to type 28 feet and press spacebar, and you can see here's my 28 foot mark. So what I want to do is scale this dimension to that 28 feet. And I can do this by clicking on this scale, or S. The shortcut key is S. And I want to scale it by the diagonal, because that's a uniform scale, like so. Actually, there's a better way of doing this. I'm going to go back and show you the better way, which is to explode this object. I can explode it by right-clicking on it and explode like that. And then right-click and say Make Group, like that. And with that, now I can double-click and click on an edge and then move that edge to align. I can align, by the way, by pressing Shift, and that constrains it to this red axis. So I'm going to constrain it there. And now, when I scale this, I'm going to go back to the scale command. It will stay in line with that left-hand side. So I can scale this now to be somewhat close, I hope, to that second line, and I'm going to try again here. Oh, that was not a bad guess. So I got a little bit, it was a little bit over. So I'm going to press S and bring it back just a tad. And that looks close enough anyway for what we're trying to do here. So now I've got a decent plan to use as a guideline, and I can erase these. So another way of measuring, by the way, is to use the tape measure, which is right here, and I can measure from now A to B. If I hover over, it's 28 foot 2 1/8. Let's say that's good enough for what we're trying to do here. And now what I want to do is fit this zone. It's very important that you work from the zone that I gave you, rather than don't delete this zone and try again, because it's named in particular ways. Same, by the way, with these PVs. Please do not erase those PVs. So I'm going to move this zone to this corner here, and then I'm going to push-pull this face. So I'm going to double-click, press on push-pull, and I'm going to push this until it's in line. And I just realized that, oh, I was a good guess too. When I double-clicked, the background went to gray, so it was difficult to see what was going on. And so another way of doing this would be to make a line at that edge where I wanted the that boundary to be, and then I can snap to that line. So I've got that length, and now I need the other length. And to do this, I double-click again. Or I'll show you this method. So I want it to be there, and double-click, and now I realized when I extruded that in, I got this extrusion around the window, which is not really what I want. So I'm going to delete this side of the window. Oops. And I'm going to delete the window as well. You'll see it's fairly easy to make new windows. So now I've got my room. Just going to make sure that that's, yeah. I've got the full extent of my computer lab now here. And I didn't want a window on that side anyway, so we're fine. Where we do want the windows are on this side and this side, but we don't know exactly where. What I need for that is elevation drawing. And I have one here in my documentation, an elevation of the entire north facade. And again, I just dragged it onto the canvas, and you can see here that it's the entire facade. So it's kind of more than we need. I'm going to rotate this by going to the protractor tool here. The shortcut is Q, and rotating it 180 degrees that way. And then I want to rotate it up in plan. To do this, I'm going to click on a corner, and as I'm going to keep the left click down and drag in the axis that I want to rotate. So I'm going to drag this way in, and then release, and now it will rotate around that axis. So I want to do this 90 degrees. I'm going to press 90 and enter or space, and now it's standing up, which is great. Now I need to scale it and crop it. So I'm going to do the same process I did before. I'm going to right click, explode, right click, group, and then I'm going to crop this to the boundaries of the computer lab, which are just that small. And hopefully this will still have enough resolution to see what's going on. And I'm going to scale this up so that it's a little bit easier to see. I don't know if these are the same grid lines. I think they might be. So we might be able to align them. I'm going to try that by cropping this right to the grid line and then aligning it to that corner, and then trying the same thing on this side. And now if I press S and scale this to something like that. Oh, I see it wasn't aligned. Sometimes that can be difficult when you're dealing with three-dimensional space. And a good method of making sure that you're aligned is to go in order by axis. So if I first click on there and then go towards the zone and press Shift and then align to the zone, and then come around the other way, click on that edge and go towards it in the red axis, and finally go and click and go down to on the blue axis. Then I will have ensured that they're aligned. And so I'm going to make sure this is close, and it is, and it looks like this is aligning nicely. So I'm going to assume that the top of the ceiling is somewhere around there, and the floor is somewhere around there, and that would be how tall? 13 feet. I think that's about right. I think it's probably about 14 feet, so we're close. And now I'm going to align this vertically like so. And I want to align my zone as well, so I'm going to double click into the zone, press P for push, and then align the roof to that edge. So what I've made now is the boundary of my air. Remember, this is really an air model, and so the volume of air is contained by this box.